Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sam Main. I am the director of Grand Theft Auto: The Heir of Scorpio. In today's video, we're going to start the series of directors and writers commentary of Grand Theft Auto: The Heir of Scorpio itself. And instead of doing a commentary of the entire movie, what we've done is we've chosen a select number of scenes, some important moments, some really cool action moments in the movie itself, and we're going to be providing some commentary, some running commentary as the movie plays. And we're also going to release some deleted scenes as well and talk you through the behind the scenes making of this movie. I do hope you enjoy this video. Please let us know what scenes you'd like to see in the comment section below. But without further ado, let's get started. So this is the start of the director's commentary for Grand Theft Auto: The Heir of Scorpio. Now, as always, the one thing we try and do at the beginning of each Agent 11 movie is give a very unique, different and interesting opening. And in my opinion, I think The Heir of Scorpio masters this, especially compared to all the others we've done. As we see this, this is the sniper scope intro. It's traditional. It's a traditional kind of mark of the Agent 11 franchise, and we purposely made a colder opening, as you can see from the kind of blue color grading here. With Rich Douglas's score over the top, it gives a more, it gives a traditional but a dark, gritty, and a new kind of tone for the movie. That's what we wanted to immerse you in at the beginning. And originally, actually, this whole scene was much longer. This scene only lasts for a couple of minutes, but the original cut, the first draft, was about 5-6 minutes long, and we saw the whole build up to the attack. But here, in the recut, we thought we're going to throw you right into it. So you see the attack happen, you see the police respond, you see the civilians dying, and you hear Hessler's monologue. And Hessler's monologue here is actually a unique, specific, original poem written by a very, very good friend of mine, Rupert Pip. And he wrote it specifically for the movie, and it works so well. And what you have here, actually, is you have the poem. What we wanted to do in the editing suite is we wanted the poem to intertwine with the music. And this is, of course, Lorne Balfe's score from Mission Impossible Fallout playing. But we just thought it worked so well. You kind of get this overpowering feeling of dread and something terrible is about to happen. And as we said, we wanted this to be a cold opening to, distinguish this from Black Phantom. This was not going to be Black Phantom Part 2, 2.0. This is its own thing. And what's interesting here is actually this whole scene was used to demonstrate that the villain, in this case Scorpio, was a huge threat, that they are actually a great big power. And actually, as we can see here, with the bomb detonating, it hints that Scorpio might actually win. This is, of course, the feeling we wanted you to get anyway, the feeling that Scorpio could actually win, the villain could win this one, that actually they're not just some idle threat, they could actually win. And then the scene flash transitions from the detonation to present day, and we have, of course, the news conference. Now this scene, interestingly, was completely shot on the PC. The pre-credit opening with the cold opening was shot entirely, both on console and PC, intertwining. But here, this was the first scene shot from the Heir of Scorpio directly on PC. And it was really good to use the props, the map editor, to really create a more dynamic environment, which you can see with the multiple AIs, the animations, just the overall set design and everything. Now, interestingly, actually, something that I think is worth mentioning is that originally we were actually going to shoot this scene on a stage set, on a stage location, to represent a White House press room. But we thought visually as well, and tonally, and also thematically, the movie should be set outside. We thought the Vice President, this is a strong individual. He doesn't want to seem weak, seem cowardly against these terrorists. So he'll give the press conference outside. They're not afraid to stand outside, to stand up against the people who are trying to silence them as a country. So that's why the scene is shot outside. Now, if you actually notice in the news banners, you can actually see context about the movie and about the time between Black Phantom and the Heir of Scorpio being shown. So if you rewind, I'm sure you can go and have a look. But in every news banner that happens in the footer, you can see context just dotted throughout, and that's done on purpose. Now, I should actually express at this point that before we transition to the next scene, this scene originally transitioned to a dialogue scene between Vice President Daniels and Claudia Angel and Karen Michelle. However, this was in the original cut. In the further drafts, this was actually cut for runtime's sake and because it was simply a dialogue scene adding context that wasn't really needed for the entire movie. However, we think it's appropriate to show you guys the deleted scene.
Mr. Vice President.
Director Angel, Miss Michelle, thank you for coming.
Not at all, sir.
I'm sorry the President couldn't meet with you directly. He was visiting a school in Florida yesterday and is on his way back as we speak.
I understand, sir. As I'm sure you'll be aware, the recent attacks have led to the security level being raised. It's now at DEFCON 4.
What about the State of the Union?
We're working with the IAA to provide extra security for the event. In my opinion, it can go ahead as planned. We do, however, have intelligence that the event may be a target at this stage.
Anything I should be aware of, Director?
We believe an assassin may be targeting the event.
And you still want to go ahead?
We believe the risk to be small. I can assure you that I'll put my best agents on duty.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
It could be our best chance at an arrest and catching those responsible.
Very well. If you feel it's best, I trust your judgment. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to brief the President before he lands.
Of course, sir. I'll keep you updated.
Shall I call them in, ma'am?
Where are they?
South of France.
And then we transition into the next scene, south of France, Marseille. And now this, of course, those who are fans of the James Bond franchise will know this song. This is, of course, We Have All the Time in the World. And coincidentally, actually, this song was also used in No Time to Die, which we had no idea about. Honestly, we had no idea that this song was going to feature in the movie. So that was a happy coincidence. When I sat down to watch No Time to Die in the cinemas and this song played, I was amazed, really. So we can claim that one first, I suppose. Obviously, excluding On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is where the song is from. But onto the scene itself, though. This, of course, was another big scene, completely shot on PC, and this marked a real change for us as creators of this film, and just as a studio, as a franchise, because shooting on PC allowed us to get more detail. Again, look at the animations, the different camera angles, the props we can add in, everything from the towel there to the bottle to the radio. Just everything, just to immerse you more into the world. And the feeling I wanted you to get was this was a completely different movie to Black Phantom. We were upping the stakes, we were upping the quality of the production, and I hope that did show on the screen. And of course, just as a bit of context, of course, this scene was reintroducing Niko and Ellie, introducing you to them again in this new movie, and showing that their relationship has developed, and they've got a greater bond right now. And those two, of course, are enjoying a vacation, a holiday, but then, as we're seeing now, they are ambushed with work yet again. And when JJ and I were writing this scene, actually, I remember we kind of thought it would be a very cool idea to do a kind of 50s, 60s spy-ish tactic, which was to essentially unveil the mission or their job using code and speaking in code. So we thought this would be a cool little way to do it. Just to create that kind of whole espionage feel. And obviously to help that espionage feel is Lorne Balfe's music. And Balfe's music from Fallout I do consider to be a masterpiece. I think it's absolutely sensational. It's a score I definitely want to go back to in the future. So we're using the score here to kind of elevate the tension. This is something different, something's more intense, something a bit, as I said, something a bit different's going to happen here. This is not going to be the same mission. Using that music to really build the intensity.
Agents.
And this was another interesting scene to shoot because this one, again, was reintroducing Claudia into the franchise in terms of introducing you, the audience, to her again in this new movie. But we wanted to essentially fill you in on the details as to what this universe was. What's the story we're going to be exploring? What's the threat? And we did think it was important to kind of contrast how Niko and Ellie were trying to separate themselves from the FIB, but the job, the duty, the loyalty to the FIB always brings them back in.
Energy providers to divert utilities to a centralized government compound guarded by state forces.
And again, this was a scene that we really wanted to express that whole kind of dread that something is a little bit different here. This mission is something a bit more personal, it's a bit darker, it's a bit grittier, and that's, again, we wanted to really create that mood, set that tone very early on, and the whole pre-credit scene, the whole cold opening of this movie really attempts to say, right, this is a different movie compared to Black Phantom. And I do think Ellie Wilson gives a fantastic performance as Claudia Angel, as per usual. She brings this wit, this intelligence, this smartness to the character that I don't think anyone else could have actually brought to Claudia Angel.
She what?
And then, of course, Matt White voicing Niko, a brilliant actor as per usual. Now this was interesting. We thought that would be an interesting little transition to do. We focus on the fire, transition into the State of the Union address, just as a bit of symbolism. For those who might have rewatched the movie, you might have caught on that. A bit of symbolism. Something's going to go wrong at the State of the Union, and here's a literal fire transition to hint at that. And again, this scene was much longer in the original cut. This scene went on, my lord, for about 10-15 minutes, just the opening, because we wanted to really, initially in the initial cut, we wanted to explore the world and show off, hey, this is what we're now doing as machinima makers, but we then had to really hone it down in the editing suite and to kind of hit those pacing beats correctly.
Tall sod in a tight suit.
If my suit's the best material you've got, you need to up your game.
If your
And this
suit's the
scene
best
here,
material
again,
you've got,
introducing Valkyrie to the audience and introducing the chemistry, the dynamic between this team. And this team really is developed now. I mean, at the end of Black Phantom, we see them having formulated and, having formed as a team and dealt with Robert Pears. And now we're seeing them, basically a year later, later on after the team is really assembled. And they have a chemistry, they have a dynamic, and we're seeing that here. And that was the aim in the writing. I mean, this is all JJ's, this is to JJ's credit. The writing, the dialogue, the wittiness, the sharpness of the characters. That's all JJ.
Standing by.
And here we have the introduction of Claudia in the flesh, in person. We wanted to give it a kind of a grand sense of occasion. Claudia is very much at the front and centre at this point. The team are really caring about Claudia. She's at the event. They want to protect her. That was the kind of sense we wanted to bring. Until, of course, President Morrison arrives, and as he does here. Now, for eagle-eyed viewers, those who are a bit of a film buffs, you might know the score. That's from Air Force One by Jerry Goldsmith. Great film, great score. We wanted to use that in the film again to bring that prestige, that kind of sense of presidentialness towards it, and the score really does elevate that. We wanted to use the scene as well to really show the connection between Claudia and Felix Morrison. We briefly saw their dynamic in Black Phantom when there was a meeting between them, but this one we wanted to bring him back, and thankfully Rick Manassa, who voices President Felix Morrison, did a fantastic job, and he was amazing in his professionalism and agreed to come back, and I'm so glad he did, because he gave such a great performance, really giving this high class, this sense of intelligence, and again that charisma that a president should have. He really delivered on that occasion for this character. Inside the State of the Union, again this was completely shot on PC, this whole pre-credit sequence was, and it was fantastic to shoot actually. I mean, this took us about a week to shoot, going everything from building the set to then rehearsing to then shooting, and then you do multiple takes if it doesn't go well, which those who've shot on PC knows that it doesn't go well a lot of the time, but it was all just to get down to that perfect take, that perfect cut. And this was all about introducing the characters, jumping you back into the world of Agent 11.
Mr. Speaker, I have the high privilege.
Now, originally, what we were going to have at this point is, when Felix Morrison was applauded on, we wanted all the AIs to clap and applaud. However, when we tried this, the PC, well, it didn't hold up too well actually. It did crash at a few moments, and we had to make some changes, so you don't really see that. We tried to hide that in the cut, you might have noticed, but we might have fooled you, we don't know.
Mr. Speaker,
But again, Rick Manassa giving a great performance as President Felix Morrison. I thought it was really good to bring him back, actually, to give that continuity between Black Phantom and the Heir of Scorpio. It was really important to remind you, the audience, the person who's viewing and experiencing the movie, that we haven't forgotten about Black Phantom. Black Phantom happened. Black Phantom was very important. It changed the franchise, and this is simply following on, continuing the story that we jump-started with in Black Phantom. And this whole speech actually was written in post-production in AD. We realised in the editing suite that we needed to give President Felix Morrison an actual speech. We needed to give him something to speak about, something to talk about, that hints at the context of the movie and the themes we're hitting for. So essentially, one evening, I very quickly wrote a speech, sent that over to Rick Manassa, and within a day, he'd recorded it, sent it over, and we put it in the film. And I think it works really well. It really hits the points that a president such as Felix Morrison would have spoken about. But here we cut, of course, to the introduction of the one and only Persephone. And here we took inspiration a bit from Bodyguard, the TV show, because that show really captured a sense of menace, a sense of something's always wrong, something's going on, there's a big conspiracy happening. So we kind of took that inspiration, that tonal inspiration from the beginning. And I remember JJ finishing Bodyguard and saying, right, we need to use this as a template in terms of themes and symbolism, and again, that kind of immersion that you get from that show, and put that into this movie, and that's what we aim to do. Persephone was a character that we actually came up with very early on. She came in around the first redraft of the film. Those who obviously have watched the behind-the-scenes features know that the Heir of Scorpio went through a number of drafts, one way back in 2017, but then this film's draft was done in about 2018, 2019 time. So Persephone was in very early on, and I wanted a different kind of henchman, a different kind of villain, a different kind of adversary towards the team. Someone who was very smart, very quick-witted, very cunning. She was not like Mr. Drax, say. She was not a big, brutal force. She was very cunning. She was very clever in how she executed her plan. And this just showed it. Here she is standing in the middle of the crowd, not giving a care in the world. She's out in the open. She doesn't care. She's got the upper hand, and she knows it. And this was the kind of the feeling we wanted to bring, that all these people, whoever's behind this, they are certainly a force not to doubt. And again, this whole scene was much longer. We wanted the build-up was actually much longer in the original edit, but we did think that it just went on for far too long. Cut it down, really build up the intensity quite short on. And the music complements this. It really builds up that anticipation that something's going to happen, something's going to go wrong.
Niko, her hand.
I am standing here today to ask you, let us wade through this moment of chaos, of division, by holding our neighbor's hand.
Shit. Bomb! Get down!
And this whole detonation sequence, this was a sequence, a quick cut sequence of many different reactions to the explosion going off, literally within a couple of seconds, with quick flashes to white. There's no green screen, there's no CGI, there's nothing like that. It was just quick phase to white, the characters reacting, and it gave the impression that the bomb went off. And again, that was done in post. That was a conscious effort in post-production to really nail the effect of the explosion. And here we see Valkyrie reacting, and again, thanks to the magic of PC and the mods that we were allowed to use, we created this set. And this set was by far one of the most, I would say, breathtaking to build and to see. I mean, we constructed it first bit by bit. We knew how the explosion was going to happen, where the characters were, and what needed to happen in the scene. But when we saw it, when we were shooting on the day, it really was actually quite breathtaking, because we stood back and said, we just filmed this on GTA 5, a game that is now nearly 10 years old, and it looks like it could have been made yesterday some points. I mean, this whole scene, we wanted to really throw you into the team are now not doomed, but they've been thwarted, and quite badly. And again, we have Niko, Valkyrie, and Ellie really panicking. Not only have they failed in that the attack has taken place and the assassin might have won, but then the sudden realization that Claudia and Karen were in the building and their team members might have died. And again, it's hitting at these kind of narrative points, these emotional points we wanted to, like, you know, the team could fail, you know, something that could go wrong. And again, the opening of the movie, as I've said before, we wanted to show you that this was different. This was not Black Phantom. We're going to take huge risks, huge gambles in this film, and the opening certainly conveyed that.
Valkyrie, I can't get through to any of them. We're going to have to...
And this is where a classic, almost Mexican standoff happens between Niko and Persephone. They both spot each other. She's very smug. She's won. She knows it. But now she needs to escape. And the police arrive, and then all hell breaks loose once more. Bit of a tip there. That sound effect used for Persephone's weapon, if anyone can guess it before I can say it. Nope, that was the G18 used in Modern Warfare 2. Again, it's amazing you can use those sound effects and put them into the game and they still work. And we really wanted to elevate the production quality in this one, and we did use specific sound effects. We created our own, but we also used some from other games because they just fit so well. Now, this foot chase is one of my favourite action scenes in the movie, because this took us a very long time to shoot. It took us about 5 days, from memory. I think it was 5 days to shoot this, because it went from one set to another. It went from the State of the Union to the highway, to the tunnels, above tunnels, then through a car park, then to the helicopter. It was just one stage after another. But we really wanted to really elevate the quality of the action scenes here. No quick cuts, no jarring moments, no shaky cam. It was all about throwing you into this fast-paced action scene. And actually a proper foot chase. We hadn't really had a proper foot chase in the Agent 11 franchise for a while, and I thought now would be a very good time to do it, right at the beginning of the movie. Again, to show Los Santos under attack, the assassin getting away, and Niko really being pushed to his limits here. Chasing, literally throwing himself to the wind, chasing with all his might after the person responsible for this. And this little moment here, I do love this moment myself from the editing perspective. We cut to Niko, jumps over, in line with the music. David Arnold score, fantastic piece of music. And again, David Arnold, a fantastic composer. We've used him many times in the Agent 11 franchise, and will continue to do so as well. Now this was interesting because originally we were going to show Persephone, she runs past the truck, and we were originally going to cut to a stairwell of her running up, but we thought there's no need. Simply show the van exploding, blocking Niko's path, looking up, seeing that, hearing that the helicopter was there, him deducing that that's where she's going. And it was just, again, it was believing in your intelligence as the audience, like, you know where she's going, you know she's going to the top of the roof. So Niko will obviously follow that. And this, of course, was the start of possibly the best action scene in the franchise. Some would debate that, but I would definitely put it up there in terms of the scale of what we go for here. Because early on in the writing process, we had this huge action scene, everything happening, the foot chase through Los Santos, and we thought, how could we top this off going into the opening credits? And we thought, well, she escapes by helicopter, so why not have a helicopter fight? And then we said, is this actually doable? Because those who remember, we had the Black Phantom stunt on the cargo bob and dangling underneath it. I mean, that was one thing, but actually moving on the helicopter, fighting on the helicopter, was it possible? And as it turns out, it definitely was, but it was very, very difficult to achieve. I mean, this scene here, just this fight alone, took us at least 2 days to shoot, because every time we could literally only take 2 or 3 steps and then one of us would be falling off. And the pilot, who was Persephone in this case, had to be so careful with the controls. One wrong move and we'd be in the propellers or off the side of the helicopter, so it was very, very careful planning to do this scene. But again, we wanted to make it as immersive as possible, so there's no green screen, there's nothing used here to fool you. This actually happened. We actually climbed on the side of the helicopter, went to really high altitude and shot this fight scene. And to me, it's one of my favourite action scenes in the franchise, because we really did push the envelope as to what was possible on console, and this was shot on console, and again, to this day, I still am very proud of this scene. And we have Niko fall, and for those who might not have guessed it, but this was a direct reference to Black Phantom, Niko falling to the earth. Also with a bit of a reference here to The World Is Not Enough, another one of our favourite Bond movies. Niko goes splashing into the ocean, having failed the mission, and Persephone escapes. And just while the opening credits are playing, I'll talk a little bit more about the writing process of the cold open. The cold open is by far the most different, it's definitely the most challenging in terms of what the team go through, but also what we went through shooting it, opening in the entire Agent 11 franchise. It's completely different to anything that went before. The team completely failed, and we really show that. We really attempt to throw you into this new world that Agent 11 and the team are having to battle, which is a villain who is winning at every corner, even in their hometown of Los Santos, where security is at their highest, and they still manage to fail. And our aim from the beginning with the cold open was to show that Scorpio are not a force that can easily be defeated. This is a force, this is an organization, this is a villain who is very clever, who is very much inside the system, and is very much the biggest adversary the team have faced. And again, JJ and I's conscious decision at the beginning was to create an opening that was really different to Black Phantom. We didn't want to create a simple sequel. We wanted to really push the envelope, push the boundaries, and push the franchise in the direction it needed to go to tell the overall franchise arc. And the opening, the cold opening, was our way of doing this. It was our way of showing, right, we're now in a new era of Agent 11. This is darker, this is grittier, this is colder. This is a different beast to Black Phantom, and I do hope it came across that way. It was by far the most exhilarating and exciting pre-credit scenes I've ever shot. We've been shooting these movies now for about 10 years, and of course, I don't have a favourite movie, I don't have a favourite action scene, I don't have anything like that, but I will say I have very fond memories of each. And for the Heir of Scorpio, the opening sequence, the cold open, is by far one of the most memorable things I've ever shot on both PC and console, and I know the team is really proud of what we've done. It's a solid 20 minutes of essential storytelling, context, emotion, and action, and we really tried to get the pacing just right in the opening. And you know, there were early drafts of the film where the opening was half an hour long. I mean, there's footage missing from this that, you know, an extra 10 minutes or so. All of it was just building the action. It was essentially just bigger action, more action in the scenes themselves. But we thought the pacing wise, what we managed to cut it down to just really worked, and we got those pacing beats quite correct. And ultimately, I think it delivered a very iconic and very different cold open to this Agent 11 movie, and I hope it came across that way when you were watching it, because we really wanted to immerse you in this world and say, right, this is a different movie, get ready for something a bit different. This film is not going to be Black Phantom 2.0, it is not going to end the way you think it's going to end. I mean, there are certainly hints in the opening that this will be a different movie, and this might not actually end well, and hopefully on rewatches that's come across. So there we have it, people. That is the cold open for Grand Theft Auto: The Heir of Scorpio. A full-on 20 minutes of pre-credit scenes, but I very much hope you enjoyed this director's commentary. If there's anything I've missed that you want to know about, please do put it in the comment section below. Next time we're going to be doing a director's commentary on that ending. Yes, we're going to be jumping all the way to the ending of the movie, talking about the post-production, the pre-production process behind that scene, behind the decisions we made, why we made certain decisions, and just talk you through that scene in general. So do keep your eyes out for that. That's it for today's video though, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.